Chapter 21, Lesson 3, the impact of alcohol abuse. Alright, so when you look at the chart, and you probably have seen this before, you notice that it's measuring the blood alcohol concentration, which is the amount of alcohol in a person's blood, expressed as a percentage. And in Minnesota, well, actually in all 50 states now, 0.08 is that kind of that limit of where people aren't considered legally intoxicated. So for the average male, probably in high school, you're probably in that 160-pound range, 180-pound range, whatever. You know, you're looking at probably being in that 2-drink, maybe 3-drink in an hour situation before you are going to be legally intoxicated. So it doesn't take a whole lot. I think a lot of people have a misconception about that, and it doesn't take a whole lot. For females, it's quite a bit less, as you can see with the chart, especially when you consider body weight. And you can see that for females, typically, you know, that second drink in an hour is going to put you kind of in that range. Now, if you look here, subtract 0.01 for each 40 minutes of drinking. So 1 drink equals 1.5 ounces. So it's going to take you some time to get to where your body is getting rid of some of that alcohol. And you know, people always talk about, you know, that you could probably drink 1 drink an hour and probably be fine. You know, I mean, some of those stack up against you, and you just got to kind of think about that situation as well. What about alcohol and driving? I mean, obviously, there's an impact on our driving. I mean, our reflexes are slowed. Our ability to, you know, judge distances, like stopping distances and whatnot, are going to definitely be hampered there. You know, speeds are going to increase, and, you know, faster speeds, not being able to judge distances very well, and then slowing down our reflexes doesn't equate to very good driving skills, obviously. Also, there's an increase in risk-taking behaviors. People, you know, doing things that they don't normally do, you know, driving super fast or trying to take corners that they wouldn't ordinarily do. Probably not a good idea. And then the whole idea about not concentrating and having some increased forgetfulness, again, just leads to some really bad situations as far as driving is concerned. In Minnesota, you know, the average cost of a DUI is somewhere around that $25,000 mark. It's kind of located up in here, this area. As you can see, there's lots of things that go on here. The insurance is probably the most costly part of it. And this is if someone is just a first-time offender and hasn't caused an accident and hurt anybody. Because if you hurt somebody, you know, the thing that's not listed here is going to be the civil lawsuits. And those can range, you know, in millions of dollars sometimes with people's medical bills and pain and suffering and whatnot. So obviously, I mean, that's a pretty big pay to have to come up with because of a decision that you made that is 100%, you know, preventable. You know, there is some jail time that it comes with some of them. You know, we talked about restricting some driving privileges. That happens a lot of times, and then just the whole auto insurance thing. I mean, you know, there's only a few companies in the country that are going to give you insurance, and they can kind of charge what they want. And you can see it's about $7,000 a year, and that was back in 2003. So I got to assume that those numbers have probably climbed as well. And it's pretty expensive to get a DUI nowadays, and not only expensive in the fact that it costs you money, but it can cost you jobs as well. This is the drunk driving story by Jackie. There's actually an assignment that you're going to be watching later on in this unit that you'll be able to take a look at this video. This is a great video as far as just kind of showing what happens to people not only who die from alcohol-related crashes, but also those who are hurt and have to live through that after that. Fetal alcohol syndrome is it's a birth, basically it's a birth defect that's related to the fact that the mom was drinking during pregnancy. We all know and have heard that you shouldn't do that, but what are some of the What are some of the things that happen? Well, fetal alcohol syndrome is characterized by things like a small head, deformities in the in the face. You can see that they don't have like this little curl up where it's really smooth here, which isn't normally common. Real small eyelids and opening, and small foreheads are characteristic of at least facial expressions. A lot of times too that the ear is a little bit lower than the eye. If you draw a line from the eye, this corner of your eye back, a lot of times their ears are set lower. That's kind of some of the more common facial characteristics of it. But there can be all kinds of things. Varying hearing problems, learning disabilities, hyperactivity, vision and hearing problems, heart and liver problems. It is the #1 cause of mental defects in the United States. Sad thing about it is it's 100% preventable, which means, if people weren't doing it, they weren't drinking during pregnancy, then we wouldn't be sitting with kids who have all these issues. All right, alcoholism. Alcoholic is an addict who is dependent on alcohol, and we talked before about the fact that it can be physical dependence and psychological dependence. Obviously, there's a big craving for it. A person is withdrawing from the drug. They lose the control. They don't want to limit the amount, or they feel like they can't limit the amount of alcohol that they need to do. They have withdrawal symptoms when they don't have alcohol in their system, especially nausea and just being shaky and having like anxiety about it. And then as a person drinks, their need to drink increases, and they need more alcohol to feel kind of the same effects that they did back when they first started drinking alcohol. So someone might get drunk, 2 or 3 beers the first time and feel intoxicated. In order to kind of feel that same feeling maybe 2 or 3 months later, if they've been drinking on a regular basis, they may need to have 5 or 6 of them. And some alcoholics drink quite a bit of alcohol to feel the effects that some of us who only drink 1 or 2 would feel. All right. Alcoholism, factors that contribute to alcoholism. There is some genetic finds as far as contributing to alcoholism. Obviously, your family is part of your genetics, and that would entail some markers for you to possibly become an alcoholic. People you hang out with, your friends. Some cultures drink more than others, and are more prone to it, I guess. Obviously, friends and peer pressure go together. Just getting the availability of alcohol. How much is it around you? What is your stress levels at? And we talked about the fact that there's ways to handle stress by not using alcohol. But unfortunately, we see people in bars and restaurants every Friday and Saturday trying to, forget about the stresses that they have at work and whatnot. And then the age is a big deal. We talked about this a little bit, with the idea that, about 10% of the population become alcoholics. But if you drink early, their chances go up quite a bit. And there's a statistic out there that says if you start drinking before the age of 15, that the number actually increases to about 40% of those people would become an alcoholic. So what are some stages? Basically abuse, dependence, and addiction is kind of what we're looking at here. The recovery part of it is just trying to teach people how to live without alcohol. That's called sobriety, and that they can live alcohol-free, and it can be a perfectly natural lifestyle to do that. Step 1 is you got to admit that there's a problem, and people have a really hard time doing that. It takes a long time to get people to realize that. You got to detoxify or get your body used to not having alcohol in your system. Receive counseling to change the behavior. And you've heard of AA before, but there's other places where you can go to get similar type help. And then recovery, just taking responsibility for a person's life and kind of living that day-to-day lifestyle to try to get them to recognize that they can live without alcohol. Here are some resources that are available to people who are either involved with alcoholics or are an alcoholic themselves. For people who are non-alcoholics, Living with someone who's an alcoholic, Al-Anon and Al-Teen are a good one. Someone who's an alcoholic themselves can go to AA. Mothers Against Driving and Students Against Destructive Decisions are both organizations that try to get people to stop drinking and driving. They also are pretty good lobbyists in our government to try to get some of the laws changed. And then there's some other ones there that can give you some information as far as treatment and also just good alcohol and drug information for this chapter.